Hello everyone. This presentation is all about red tide, which creates the toxin Brevetoxin. In the past few weeks, Florida residents have noticed an increasingly large number of dead fish washed up on shore. They are experiencing this in an area that has many recreational activities, including swimming, surfing, boating, and fishing. We are concerned because this is affecting the health of our animals and humans. I was hired to investigate this issue and find out what is causing this hazardous chemical in our water. The toxin is called Brevetoxin. Red tide, scientifically known as the Carenia brevis, is an algae that creates a toxin called the brevetoxin. Brevetoxin is a potent toxin that affects the central nervous system of the fish. The toxin can also affect birds, sea turtles, mammals, and other marine animals. After doing a ton of research, I believe this is the toxic chemical affecting our beaches currently, and I want to share with all of you how this is going to impact our wildlife and the possible harm it can have on us. How long have we had red tide? Red tides were documented in the southern Gulf of Mexico as far back as the 1700s and along Florida's Gulf Coast in the 1840s. While doing my research, I have discovered that since July of 2021, Florida's red tide has killed at least 791 tons of fish. That led to not only tons of dead sea life sitting on beaches and near marinas, but millions of dollars in cleanup efforts. Pinellas County spent more than $3 million and cleaned up an equivalent amount equaling to 3,672,000 pounds of dead marine life. Red tides can last as little as a few weeks or longer than a year. They can even subside and then reoccur. I included a picture with a boat, and you can see all the dead fish around it. And then the other picture is the counties, and the circles on the side are color coordinated by how bad the red tide is at that time in that area. And red means it's the worst it could be. The chemical structure of brevetoxin. Chemical structure means, or it refers to the way atoms are arranged within molecules. Brevetoxin comes in two basic structures, type A and type B. Each type contains several specific compounds that are differentiated at the J ring in PBTX-A and at the K ring in PBTX-B. I included an image of the structure of brevetoxin type A, and the functional groups involved include hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon. Where does this chemical toxin come from? Although many algae species cause red tides all over the world, yet the organism that causes Florida's red tide, K. brevis, is found almost exclusively in the Gulf of Mexico, from Mexico to Florida. Florida red tides can be transported around the Gulf of Mexico as coastal waters move with winds and currents. The Florida red tide alga, Carenia brevis, needs the following components to form a bloom. The first is biology, which is the organism must be present in the water, and it must outcompete other phytoplankton. The second is the correct chemistry. This includes the appropriate temperature, salinity, and nutrients that it needs to grow and multiply. The third component is the right physical conditions to concentrate and transport K. brevis. The fourth component is ecology, the presence or absence of other life forms, such as other marine algae that may encourage or inhibit K. brevis blooms. Scientists generally believe that coastal pollution from humans can happen from human sewage, agricultural runoff, and other sources. Some examples of those would be farms, factories, and sewage treatment plants that are putting their waste into our water. How is the brevetoxin entering the organism or its cells? Aquatic organisms can be exposed to brevetoxins in several ways: coming into contact with K. brevis cells or toxins in the water, ingesting cells, inhaling toxins, and consuming toxic prey. Brevetoxins can accumulate in primary consumers such as zooplankton, fish, bivalves, and other filter feeders. From these organisms, the toxins can be transferred to predators such as fish and other bottom-dwelling organisms. The accumulation and persistence of brevetoxins in these marine animals and environments such as seagrass and sediment can eventually lead to the transfer of these toxins to larger animals, including sea turtles, birds, and marine animals. Fish are the most affected. Brevetoxins affect fish regardless of the species or developmental stage. Signs of intoxication in fish include violent twisting and corkscrew swimming, defecation and regurgitation, pectoral fin paralysis, caudal fin curvature, loss of equilibrium, and convulsions. Ultimately, fish die because their gills stop functioning. And I kind of included an image down here on the bottom that you can look at and see from where it starts to kind of how it goes to humans. The impact on fish and humans. Fish, again, the signs of intoxication in fish include the violent twisting, the corkscrew swimming, defecation and regurgitation, pectoral fin paralysis, caudal fin curvature, loss of equilibrium, and convulsions. Ultimately, yes, the fish again die because their gills stop functioning. In most instances, death from brevetoxin exposure is immediate. However, death can occur after long-term exposure to toxins. Humans can also react to the toxin. However, swimming is normally safe for most people. However, it can cause some people to suffer skin irritation and burning eyes. And also people with respiratory illness may also experience respiratory irritation in the water. What specific organs or tissues are impacted? With fish, the toxin affects the central nervous system. The brain and the spinal cord are the organs within the central nervous system. This toxin affects the nervous system by opening sodium channels on neurons, which can lead to paralysis and loss of coordination. In humans, an organ that can be affected is the lungs. It can cause a lot of respiratory issues, and it is worse for those who already deal with conditions such as asthma and emphysema and any chronic lung disease. The metabolic processes that are impacted. Metabolics of these brevetoxins found in clams include products of oxidation, reduction, hydrolysis, and amino acid and fatty acid conjugation. Of the highest abundance were the cysteine and taurine conjugates. We also found glutathione, glycine, and a couple other ones. A series of fatty acids were also identified. How to prevent red tide poisoning? There are a few ways that red tide poisoning can be prevented. Avoid entering bodies of water that have a distinct foul odor, appear discolored, or have foam, scum, or algae mats. Follow local or state guidance about the safety of the water. Check environmental or state websites for local beach or lake closures before visiting. Do not drink directly from lakes, rivers, or ponds. Do not fish, swim, boat, or participate in water sports in areas experiencing a red tide. Rinse off pets and clean water after they've been in the pond, lake, or ocean. Do not allow them to lick their fur until they have been rinsed. Follow local guidance when consuming harvested fish or shellfish, and avoid eating large reef fish. That is the end of my presentation. As you will see, I also am going to hand out 2 fact sheets. One is about the brevetoxin, and the other is about the metabolic processes that are involved in brevetoxin.